So, another year's gone by, the year of 2014. Great for some, and terrible for most. If you're watching this video, you must know by now that I've moved on from my old Team Yu-Gi-Oh channel, and onto TheYukiverse. This channel was started on January the 1st, well, January 2nd if you want to get technical, and while it's only up 50 subscribers after a year of hard work, Team Yu-Gi-Oh only had 150 after a couple of years, so I wasn't exactly expecting miracles. For those of you who are following me from Team Yu-Gi-Oh and wondering why I changed channels, there are a few reasons. Mainly because I no longer wanted to focus solely on Yu-Gi-Oh content, and my non-Yu-Gi-Oh stuff wasn't received very well over there, but that's not what this video is about. So without further ado, my top 5 for 2014. If you don't know what this is, basically I do a top 5 list of my 5 favourite things from 2014. This year the 5 lists are Yu-Gi-Oh related things, Pokemon related things, video games, songs, and YouTubers. I didn't watch enough anime or read enough books to warrant giving them their own lists this year, which is a shame, as a few I did were really good. But anyway, onto the list. There will be annotations on the screen right now to skip to a certain list if you're not interested in hearing them all, like if you're not a Yu-Gi-Oh or Pokemon fan, for example. Before this list begins, I want to give a shout out to ShadyVox. I've known about Shady for years, but I somehow wasn't subscribed to him. After binge watching all of his videos, and like getting all nostalgic about Blink-182 songs from my childhood, that was awesome. But I'd already written the list by this point, so Shady isn't going to appear on here, either in my top songs or in my top YouTubers. But he would have been a contender for sure. If you're wondering which song I would have picked, it would have been Modageddon, which is an animated song that he did with Minecraft Minute parodies. First up, my top 5 Yu-Gi-Oh related things. Number 5. Frightful Wolf. So, this might seem a bit random. Rather than the Fluffle archetype, which is adorable, and you know I love adorable things, I picked this one fusion monster. Why? Well, I'm not 100% sure myself, but I really like it. It's been between this, Truckroid, and Entomate Whip Viper. Truckroid didn't come out this year, and I've loved it for a long time, so basically I flipped a coin between Viper and Wolf won. Now, I'm not the only person to associate this card with the infamous game Five Nights at Freddy's. My Fluffle deck is literally called Five Nights at Fluffles, which I'm strangely okay with. While the game isn't to my taste, I do like the designs of some of the animatronics in it, especially Foxy, which Wolf looks suspiciously like. So, I'll link 1 and 2 together, and I don't know, Frightful Wolf just looks really cool, to be honest. Number 4. Killpot. Another confusing one, I'm sure. Most people hate this deck, and with good reason. Do I think this deck is OP please burn? No, not really. It's good, for sure, but not amazing. It's easily stopped. But its playstyle isn't why it's on this list. It's the backstory. For anyone who didn't know, I love the Dual Terminal story. It's my favourite thing in Yu-Gi-Oh! The more recent archetypes, like Shadows, Killpot, and Yangzing, are all continuing on from the DT story after Sophia was defeated. I love this so much. Like, you don't even know. Not only that, but do you know the Killpot are based off 2 things: computer jargon and a philosophical theory about the true idea of God being like suppressed by a shell. It's kind of a hard theory to talk about in such a short amount of time, but I'm not like a personally religious person, but I do like philosophy. I took it back in 6th form, and the idea of mixing the 2 subjects from my educational days, where I used to mostly play Yu-Gi-Oh, it's kind of awesome to me. And they look cool too, so number 3. Pendulum summoning, a brand new mechanic that everyone hated at first, and now people really don't care, just like Synchros and Ixis. When this first came out, I fell in love with it. The idea really sparked my interest in the game again. Currently, most of my favourite decks seem to have some kind of pendulum theme to it, like Performer Pals and like the aforementioned Killpots. And as a mechanic, I love it. Not my favourite game mechanic, that's still Synchro summoning, but I like pendulum summoning way more than Ixis or Fusion or anything else really. And maybe later down the line when Pendulum gets a bit more intensive, it might take over Synchros as my favourite type of summon, who knows, we'll just have to see. Number 2. Yu-Gi-Oh! Arc V, or Arc 5, I'm not really sure how you say it, the newest series of the Yu-Gi-Oh! Anime. For once, I started watching it in its subbed form. While I watch subbed anime all the time, I usually watch the Yu-Gi-Oh! Animes, like dubbed. When 5Ds wasn't finished, I was kind of annoyed, but I thought, whatever, and I just watched the rest of it in Japanese and got over it. And then they kind of stopped doing the Zexal one that was dubbed, and I thought, you know what, screw this, Yu-Gi-Oh! Obviously never finished their dubs, I'll just watch them in Japanese. Although they have started doubling Zexal again, so I've carried on watching it in its dub form anyway, but So what do I think of Arc 5? Well, wow, to be honest. I'm up to like episode 30 or probably more, because by the time I've uploaded this there'll be more, I don't even know. And it's rapidly moving up my list of favourite Yu-Gi-Oh! Animes of all time. It's currently 2nd, but Nostalgia Goggles are firmly equipped to Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds, so that's no surprise. But I wouldn't be surprised when this takes over 5Ds, to be honest. The jewels in this are awesome, rather than just dumb top decks to win games. And there's still a couple of them, but what do you expect? It is Yu-Gi-Oh! Anime. The characters are actually awesome, and all the new decks are just really cool. Performer Pal, Melodious, DDD, Waffle, Super Heavy Samurai. Seriously, there isn't a single archetype in Arc 5 that I don't like right now. It's got the mix of comedy and serious story right for once. Like GX had a really good amount of comedy, but its story sucked. And then 5D story was really cool, but then it took itself way too seriously. And then Zexal kind of had the right idea, but by its second season, it was just terrible, let's be real. So I reckon Arc 5 is the pinnacle of all Yu-Gi-Oh anime, to be perfectly honest. And finally, number 1. Now, 2 cards share my top spot, Cephalopsaurus and First of the Dragons. Why? Because they are the 2 key components of my new favourite deck, which I like to call Sneak Pendulum. Ever since Flash Knight and Cannon came out in the first Arc 5 set, I wanted to build a deck around them. Dragonhorn Hunter was then announced, and suddenly I figured I could actually make the deck, half decent. And then the second set comes along, and out comes First of the Dragons, a fusion that only requires normal monsters? Awesome. The Sneak promo was then revealed to be another vanilla Pendulum monster, so I was like, even more awesome. This effect is even good. It gives all normal monsters piercing, so it's really handy considering the deck is mostly made of normal monsters. So you want to know how the deck works? Basically, you set up the pendulum scale ASAP, so you can use Rota to search Flash Knight, you can use Fossil Dig to search for Cephalopsaurus, you can use Summoner's Art to search for Dragonhorn Hunter, and you just get a few vanilla pendulum monsters like in your hand, and then boom, special summon them out, or obviously in your extra deck, it works either way. Then you can just sit on these cards forever basically, because if they get destroyed, you can summon them back for no cost. You basically need to make sure you have stuff to negate MSTs to stop them breaking your pendulum scales, but that's not too hard. So you can use Poly or equivalent, you can use that one that does from the grave, it's got the same name. You can fuse your vanilla pendulum monsters on the field to summon First of the Dragons. He can't be destroyed by battle or with effects of monster, so that's really handy. And what's cooler is that the monsters used for the summon are back in the extra deck, so you can pendulum summon again either this turn, if you didn't already pendulum summon this turn, or next turn if you already have. Basically a never-ending supply of level 6 normal monsters, and as long as you don't want to Ixis with them, which, maybe you can do that when you're going for game, but apart from that, just always keep them there. I play against a lot of Shadows and Burning Abyss, because Toby and Dan play them, so considering neither of them have actually managed to beat this deck once yet, it's pretty good. My favourite thing about the deck is that I kind of made it myself, really, and I'm sure other people have had the same idea, but I didn't look up any kind of other deck of it. As soon as I saw them, I was like, right, I'm building this deck no matter what. There's some really cool tech cards in here, like the trap card that you contribute 2 normal monsters, and then neither player can summon effect monsters. It's like, okay, that's really helpful. So it's like a skill drain for everything except normal monsters, and I still get my effects from my pendulums. Pendulum scale can summon some other funky stuff, but mostly you don't really need it. I've got Summoner Monk in there to summon out Flash Knight, and there's a new Beast Warrior, level 4 Fire Beast Warrior coming out that's a normal monster pendulum as well, so I can use Tenki to search for that. So basically, all of the normal monster pendulums for the deck are searchable with spell cards. It's really cool and it's really consistent. It's a very fun deck, and it's by far my favourite Yu-Gi-Oh related thing this year. Next is my top 5 Pokemon related things. Number 5. It's been a pretty quiet year for Pokemon, but as a lot of my life revolves around it, I kind of got to talk about it anyway. So Pokemon Art Academy came out this year, and I ended up picking it up after I moved house. During a time in which I was kind of depressed, but I'll talk more about that later. The game kind of helped me to get out of a bit of a rut, back into drawing, which is kind of cool because I used to draw all the time. I used to draw once every day, actually. If anyone followed me on Twitter for from last year, you'll know that I was doing this thing where you should draw something every day. It was kind of cool. But then when my depression kicked in, I just kind of lost interest in pretty much every one of my hobbies. But Pokemon Art Academy kind of helped me to get back to drawing. So I mean, it's not a perfect game, obviously, otherwise it would be on the video games list. But it was enjoyable, and for Pokemon related things, I'd say it was a pretty good thing to happen. Number 4. The new sneaking mechanic in Oras is such a cool idea. Giving me a reason to fight random battles in the grass and up my encounter number for certain Pokemon, and then you get to find stronger versions of that Pokemon with hidden abilities and good IVs and special moves. That is, I don't know, it's just really cool to me. I didn't know anything about Oras when I first got the game, and obviously we got it a week late over here in the UK, so I kind of had to avoid the internet a lot. So I was pretty surprised when I saw it, but I haven't actually finished the game yet. At the time of recording, I've beaten 6 gyms, so I'm going through it at my own pace. I don't like to rush through things, and I've got that all the time in the world. There's no reason to rush through it all. But the sneaking mechanic is my favorite thing in this game by far. There are quite a few other cool things, like the personality they've given to the NPCs and stuff, but the sneaking mechanic is just really, really solid. I really hope they keep the feature in all the future Pokemon games, because I'd absolutely love for it to become a series staple. Seriously, it's just awesome. Number 3. Pokemon TCG Online is cool, but it's not like Dev Pro for Yu-Gi-Oh! In that you have to unlock all the cards, and not in a fun way where you unlock them by battling people like you might do in the video game, but you have to buy real life packs or sign in for every 5 days you get a pack. And you know, I've got quite a few cards on there, but not enough to really build and test whatever deck I like. Kind of sucks, to be honest. And then I discovered Lackey CCG. Basically, Lackey CCG is like DevPro, but for any card game. There are like different mod packs for it, for different card games, and you can even make your own card game if you know what you're doing. Obviously, I've been using it for the Pokemon TCG, and I've been testing out a lot of decks in there, like Greninja deck, the Gengar EX deck, Ho-Oh EX, Night March, the Donphan Substitute, Shiftry, you know, a whole bunch of decks. Like, you'll see some of them up on the channel, although if my views are anything to go by the time of uploading this or recording this video, it doesn't seem to be very well received. Not quite sure why. I'll have to look into that. I can't afford all the cards in real life, and I got no one to play against in real life either, so Lackey CCG is pretty much the next best thing. I'll leave a link in the description to it, so you can check it out if you think that sounds pretty cool. Number 2. As you might have guessed from number 3 on the list, I've been getting into the Pokemon TCG a lot more recently, and a lot of that is thanks to the Phantom Forces set. This set has brought so many new decks to the game, and the Night March deck is made mostly of commons, so even I could afford it. Although I ended up not paying for it, and I'm not sure if I actually own the cards in the deck, or if I'm just borrowing them. I don't know, ask Declan. But of course, what I really want to build is my one-hit KO deck, but as I can't afford Virizion EX, and this deck was a nice budget option. Seeing all the funky new cards in the set, like Fortress EX, Robo Substitute, Pyro, really opened up the possibilities for me, and thanks to both this set and Lackey CCG, I can fully get back into it now. I fully intend to have a complete deck and enter the TCG Championship that's held just before VGCs in 2015, and I'll even vlog while I'm there if I do. And finally, number 1. I've talked about her a lot this year. Yes, Kriba the Raticate, the Yukiverse's Pokemon mascot. Why Raticate? That's the question everyone is asking, or would be asking if anybody actually cared. And that's a fair question. On the channel itself, she's only appeared in the Crystal Nuzlocke. I mean, I guess I had a Raticate and picked someone as well, but it wasn't technically Kriba, it was Surly. But she means a lot more to me than just that. So while I was trying to get back into the video games and playing competitively again, I wanted to train a team, but it was around this time that someone I follow on Twitter, who goes by the name of Alaki Ocarina, she asked her followers if anyone could get her a Rattata for a Pokedex, to which I replied I could breed her one from the one I've got in bank. I actually ended up getting her a few things to finish that, but it's neither here nor there. While breeding the Rattata, I decided to get myself a nice Adamant Guts Rattata, just for fun. You know, it could be a bit of fun using a competitive Rattata. And it kind of reminded me that I really used to like breeding back in Gen 4, because I used to do it a lot back then. And it got me back into breeding again. So it was this, along with the realization that EV training takes 15 minutes, if that, to fully train one Pokemon now. Maybe finally decide to actually get back into competitive. And you know, that was maybe a good idea. So I built a team with Showdown, themed around this Rattata that I was breeding. You know, Guts Raticate with Flame Orb and all that. While I was trying to choose a name for her, I remember that I'd recently discovered a new singer that I really liked, named Michelle Kriba, who, if any of you know her, she voiced someone or other in My Little Pony, but I don't watch that, so I can't really comment. I decided to name her that. Of course, this was before I realised that this Raticate was kind of going to make me fall in love with competitive battling again. And Raticate's such an underappreciated Pokemon. No one really likes Raticate, because, I mean, I guess Pokemon Company kind of draw it really ugly all the time. So of course I always have to pick the one that no one's like, to piggy anyone. So it just seemed kind of fitting, really. It was around this time when I discovered Lackeys as well, and I wanted to get back into the TCG. And then I found out that the Raticate card in the TCG could one-hit KO any Pokemon in the entire game. That's kind of insane. My one-hit KO deck is literally built around Raticate, so it was awesome. I decided, you know, I want Raticate, or more specifically Kriba, the one who I'd been using, as my channel's mascot. So yeah, I've been wanting a channel mascot for a while, and it's all thanks to that one request from Alaki for asking for a Rattata egg that I now have one. So thanks for that. Not that you'll ever watch this or know how much you helped me, but you know, thanks all the same. Now for my top 5 songs this year. Number 5. This list for me was actually pretty easy to work out. I limited myself to one song per artist, obviously, and tried to pick different sounding songs for different reasons. This one was actually the toughest one to pick. For the past few months, I've been asking on Twitter and trying to work out which video game song is the most relaxing. Dia Docs from Super Mario 64, or Sticker Bush Symphony from Donkey Kong Country. Now, I've never played Donkey Kong Country, so I wasn't letting my love of either game cloud my judgment, and it took me all the way up until writing this list to actually decide, but I do think that Sticker Bush wins out in the end. This awesome remix you're listening to right now is by Retro Remix Review, and it sounds amazing. I'll leave a link to all the songs in this list in the description below so you can check them out for yourselves. I highly recommend that you do that. Number 4. M1, for those of you who don't know, is mostly known for remixing Game Grumps videos into songs. Maybe it's not the best use of his talent, but I don't care because this song sounds amazing. Sure, the lyrics might be questionable, but it's Danny and Aaron, what do you really expect from them? But the actual music is amazing. It's YouTubers like M1 and Pogo that have always amazed me at how they can take something completely non-musical and turn it into a masterpiece. M1 only beat Pogo on this list because this one song is my favourite out of all of each of their songs. Check out both M1 and Pogo in the description below, you won't regret it. Number 3. Youngtown, how I wanted to put you at the top of my YouTuber list. So the reason Youngtown is in fact not at the top of my YouTubers list is because I didn't want to have him on the list twice to give everyone else a fair shot. Youngtown is probably my favourite YouTuber of this year. His video content is hilarious and his musical talent is beyond amazing. This specific song, Settle and Smash, really captured the hype that I had for this game before its release, and I mean, come on, are you listening to the same song as me right now? Go listen to the full song in the link in the description if you haven't already. Go on, pause this video, go listen to it, come back and tell me I was wrong to tell you to do that, because I wasn't. Hell, if I lose the minutes watched in this video just so you can go listen to Youngtown's music, I'll be a happy man. Number 2. Now of all the songs on this list, this one will be the most confusing to you all. This song is ancient, Joe. You must have heard of it before. Of course I have. Nickelback is my favourite band after all. So, why is this song on my list? Well, this might get pretty dark pretty quick, so feel free to skip this if you want to stay jolly and happy. Mentioned a few times now that I've been pretty depressed this year, and me moving house from the only house that I've ever lived in has a major part to do with that. I love that house more than most things in this world. I'd say it was probably the third most important thing to me, so leaving it, having a really dark place. This isn't a sap story or anything, I don't expect any of you to care, I'm just explaining why this song's on the list. It was the last song that I actually got on my computer while I lived there, and it was also the last song I listened to while I was there on my last night while I was sleeping. Even while thinking about it, while typing this, kind of had me tearing up a bit. So whenever I hear this song, I will always think of my old house, my first house, my true home, the place that I truly believe that I belong. Nothing will ever be able to take that away from me. The song means a lot more to me than just a song. It's more than just music. It's all the hopes and aspirations that I had when I was a kid. All the memories and events that happened in my old house. I don't want to bore you with my life. I know none of you really care, but this shit's important to me, okay? Just let me have it. And finally, number 1. So I didn't want to end this list on a downer, so I picked my actual favourite song of the year to top the list. For those of you who watch My Little Pony, you might be confused at the MLP reference in the song's title, but didn't you say you'd never watched the show? This is still true, I had to look up what the song was singing about, won't lie about that. I had my suspicions, but I wasn't exactly 100%. So why do you love this song then, if it's meant as fan service to bronies? Well, as a lover of songs from all over the world, I'm a great believer that one does not need to understand the lyrics in a song to enjoy the music. I've listened to every song that Kanashcorp has on his YouTube channel, and I don't understand any of them. But do I love them? Yes, most definitely, they're awesome. I'm quite surprised I'd never heard of Ken before this year, but I'm so glad I discovered him. He's another musician I really wanted on my top YouTubers of the year, but out of all his content is music, he seemed more suited to this list. If you ever hear me say something needs to be 20% cooler, just remember, I'm referencing this song. No, I have nothing against bronies. In fact, all the bronies I know are extremely nice people, and the community seems just as nice. I personally have never watched the show, so I have no comment on it. Now for my top 5 video games of 2014. Number 5. Minecraft. An odd choice for a list about my favourite games of 2014, but let me justify why. So this year was the first year for the Yukiverse, and to be honest, the Yukiverse's roots started with Minecraft. I don't play it much now, but for a long while and most of the year, I really enjoyed this game. I'm sure me getting depressed has something to do with why I barely play anymore, as it was the game I played the most before it happened and before I moved, at least for this year, but you know. Last year was actually the first time I ever played Minecraft, so it took me like most of a whole year to get bored of it, which I'd say was pretty impressive. So if you've watched any of my Minecraft content on this channel, which you probably have if you're watching this, let me know which one was like your favourite series or your favourite episode or whatever, and I might possibly bring it back. I mean, I haven't gone off Minecraft completely, I just don't really have the time to play it anymore, I guess. Number 4. Binding of Isaac. Don't you mean Binding of Isaac Rebirth? I can hear you all say. Well, no I don't. This year was the first year I'd actually started playing Binding of Isaac, even though both Declan, you know who he is, and Jimmy, who some of you might know, have been going on at me to play it for like ages. And boy, do I realise why. Binding of Isaac is such a fun game. The endless possibilities in this game make for an uncomparably fun experience, and the unknown factor to the game of not knowing what all the items do give me that nostalgic feel like I used to get from old N64 games when I played them as a kid. I've had a lot of arguments with people in the YouTube comment section of a certain YouTuber's videos of Binding of Isaac Rebirth about whether or not you actually have to use the wiki to play this game. They all say you do, and I think they're all dumb, to be honest. But not knowing what everything does is the best bit. If you know what all the items do and know which items to get and which not to get each time you play through the game, where's the fun in that? I think that's why I like this game so much. Unlike a lot of other games nowadays, you can't help but get spoilers on the internet, just Twitter and YouTube and stuff. Like every game you just get spoilers for, even if you're not trying to. But no one knows what all the stuff in Binding of Isaac does, so I can play the game relatively spoiler free and it's amazing. The game would be higher on the list, but I only started playing it in December, so I didn't really give the game enough time. Number 3. Rogue Legacy. No, not everything on this list is going to be a game I've played on this channel, but most of the gaming I've done this year has been recorded, so it shouldn't come as much of a surprise that Rogue Legacy is at number 3. So, I love this game. I'm sure if you've watched any of my Rogue Legacy videos, you kind of already know that. In fact, I don't really know what I can add to what I love about this game that I haven't already said in them videos. So, like, the idea of the game is solid, the controls and how the game plays is solid, the game just overall rocks, and I can't wait to start it up again next year. If you haven't seen any of it, there will be a link to the playlist in the description below. You actually have a reason to read the description in this video. Number 2. Super Smash Bros. For Wii U. This game appearing on this list shouldn't come as a surprise to anyone, but the fact it's not number 1 on the other hand might. According to the in-game logs, I've only ever turned on Super Smash Bros. Wii U 4 times. 4 times. That's crazy. I know it only came out last month, but for me, that's pretty mental. I really haven't been playing video games as much this year, which kind of sucks, because I've been waiting for this game ever since Brawl. Because let's be real, while I love Brawl, it was kind of flopped. Maybe the fact I played the 3DS version for the month prior had something to do with it, or maybe the fact that I've kind of grown even lazier and more tired of video games to the extent that I don't think it's worth the effort to turn on and set up the Wii U just to play Smash. Do I think this Smash game stands up to previous Smash games? Yeah, I do. Do I think it's the best version of Smash? Yeah, definitely. Sure, I don't like the lack of Subspace Emissary or Break the Targets, because I hate Target Blast. Target Blast sucks. Seriously, guys. It sucks. But as a Smash game, it's amazing. I just kind of need to find the effort to play it more. I'm sure I will next year, but until then, number 2 on the list for you. And finally, number 1. You've probably never heard of this game, and I don't blame you for that at all. Last year, a game called Virtue's Last Reward was on my list. As I found out, Virtue's Last Reward was actually a sequel, so those few bits in the story I didn't understand were from the first game in the series. 9 persons, 9 doors, 9 hours. Or usually Sean suggests 999. Does 999 stand up to Virtue's Last Reward, which was my best game of 2013? Yeah, it stands up, but it's not as good. I prefer the art style in 999 for sure, but the fact you have to replay the earlier levels to progress to different story endings rather than just being able to skip the important parts in the story which the decisions are made was a little frustrating. And it's why it took me so long to beat the game. I ended up making a notepad with all of the answers to the rooms I'd beaten on so I could do it quickly to get through the rooms and progress to different story endings, because this game has a lot of endings. This reminded me of the times that I used to spend as a kid, where you'd write down like cheat codes and stuff you found on the old N64 games. Man, those were the days. My favourite years in gaming were on the N64 without doubt. To be reminded of that was like bliss for me. That's why 999 made the top spot on this year's list. It's an amazing game with an awesome story that I definitely recommend everyone check out, and playing like I used to as a child gave me a massive nostalgia trip, which is what placed this game above Smash for me. Top 5 YouTubers. Number 5. Now it's time for the real list. The one that, if you're like me at all, you've all been waiting for. Top 5 YouTubers of the year. Now this was a really tough pick, like insanely hard. YouTube has been more important to me this year than it ever has before, and not because of my channel, but because of the content I've been watching. My 5th favourite YouTubers of the year are the Fine Bros. Now you all know these guys by now, they aren't a mystery anymore. Mostly known for their React series, but also their online sitcom My Music. How long have I been watching the Fine Bros? I don't know, a long time. I was subscribed to the Fine Bros before they were at 5 digits, so to see them this big just makes me proud, to be honest. To think someone I've watched for that long has become this successful. They've got their own TV show now. They're universally popular, and I still remember the days when they did skits of action figures from the TV show Lost. Man, those were the days. But their content's still awesome now, and I'm happy to see it. Seriously, I just want to congratulate them, but as a channel as small as this, they wouldn't even be able to see it in the ocean that is YouTube. Let it be known that I'm proud to call myself a Fine Bros fan. Number 4. So, this is a little awkward. Originally, the King Nappy had this place right here. I had this whole big paragraph about why I like Nappy and how he respects his fans and stuff, but recently, 2 of his TCG openings, he tore up a Pachirisu card. Now this seems like a stupid thing to get mad over, but boy does it piss me off. I thought Nappy was different. I thought he truly respected the job he does, but I'm starting to think otherwise. Thankfully, Nappy wasn't the only competitor for this spot. Both Shady Penguin and Nate Wants to Battle were fighting over this spot as well. Recently I started to watch a few Let's Plays, although not many, as they aren't really my cup of tea to be honest, and some of the stuff that Shady and Nate have done have caught my attention. First up, the Portal 2 co-op between the two of them is hilarious. Shady's Stanley Parable series is really intriguing, and Nate has started playing Jazz Punk, which seems quite an interesting game to be honest. What I find the funniest is how they're both PokeTubers, but I don't watch much of their Pokemon content, at least not their Pokemon LPs, so making this last decision is tough, but I think with the addition of Nate's awesome music, he came out top and he wins the spot, at number 4 on my top YouTubers list. Number 3. And number 3 is Dexter Manning. Dex. Another case much like the Fine Bros. I was subbed to Dex's original channel, DexterBoy124, way back when. Fun fact, my original YouTube channel, Lucario Wake, was created for the sole purpose of being able to subscribe to Dexter Manning, Shippage, and Guitar Master X7, who's now known as Lam Douchebag. That's why my original channel had such a Smash Bros theme to it, because they all did Smash Bros machinery on their channel. Dex has come a long way since then. Sanity Not Included was his most popular series, the one that skyrocketed him into being noticed in the YouTube world, and he does daily content now. He's had a few hiccups along the way, like his entire account being flat out banned at one point, but I've always followed Dex on YouTube and I always will. His sense of humour is great and his taste in games is awesome, so I see no reason not to follow him. He's just an all-round awesome guy and I'm glad to see him moving up the ranks of YouTube too. He's also from England like me, so it makes me think not all hope is lost for non-vlogging Brit to make it on YouTube. Number 2. Now, Boogie2988 is a stand-up member of the YouTube community. The best member, if I say so myself. If anyone on YouTube deserves massive respect, it's Boogie. When I first discovered Boogie from Ray William Johnson's old Equals Free show, he was showing off some of Boogie's Francis videos. To be perfectly honest, I don't really enjoy the Francis content, but when Boogie is himself and he's talking about video games or his own life and experiences, that makes for awesome content. Not just awesome content, but I feel like I really know him, you know? There are very few YouTubers who can truly portray themselves to the public without appearing shallow or as if they're putting on an act, but Boogie, whatever he's done it right. He's always been like positive as one can be, and that positivity has definitely been rubbing off on me. As I stated earlier, I've been suffering with depression this year, so that positivity is just what I needed. Boogie is like the friend I really needed to have this year, and while I may not have had a friend in real life, I've always got Boogie's super positive videos or his presence on Twitter. While I'm trying not to count anyone's Twitter into where they rate on this list, it's tough not to, as all my favourite YouTubers I follow on Twitter, and really lets you know the kind of person they really are. Now, before I get onto my number 1 pick of the year, I feel like there are so many YouTubers who I wanted on this list who I haven't mentioned at all in this video, and while I don't have the time to talk about them, this video must be really long by now, I want to let you know who they all were, in alphabetical order. Ashens, Chris Dimas TV, Domix, Full Arrow, Gaijin Goomba, Game Grumps, Jack Howard, Jack's Films, Jaltoid, Jontron Show, LD Shadow Lady, Leon Lai, Mike Ironfist, Mikey Bolts, Minecraft Jams, Only Lay, Peanut Butter Gamer, Pro Jared, Purple Eyes WTF, Rated S Games, Really Freaking Clever, Rocket Jump, Sashbags Goods, Screen Junkies, Psycho, Sean Klitzner, Slammercow, Smooth McGroove, Sunder, Super Smash Academy, That One Video Gamer, The Game Theorists, Beijing Canadian, The Lonely Goomba, Waffles, Yuri of Wind, and Zuraki. There's not a list of all the YouTubers I've been watching this year either, that's just a list of the ones who are in the running for the top 5 spots. When I said YouTube has been a lot more important to me this year than ever before, I really meant it. And finally, number 1. As I stated earlier in this video, my favourite YouTuber of the year should be Youngtown. The effort he's put into each and every video shows so much, and each one is just as, if not more, entertaining than the last. But, as I have Youngtown on this list already, it seemed unfair to put him twice. But Youngtown isn't the only member of Hidden Block to have been going above and beyond with their videos this year. I watch all 6 members of Hidden Block and I love each of their content, but only one can have this prestigious spot as the top of this final list. Jimmy and Jeff have stepped up their game, but not as much as the others. James has shown some massive improvement over the year, and considering he's one of my favourite members of Hidden Block, that's really saying something. I feel Walid has also massively improved. He used to be my least favourite member of Hidden Block and I only enjoyed his presence on Twitter, but now, oh, he's one of my favourites for sure. But for me, it's Ian that's really shone. Maybe it's just all of his good content has been towards the end of the year, so it's all I remember him by, but that content, all of it was amazing. Seriously, every time I see a Brutal Moose video in my subscription box, I actually get excited. Ian's sarcastic sense of humour is so similar to mine and I love that. In fact, I love everything about his videos. He doesn't take himself seriously at all and it makes great content in such a short amount of time. To be honest, I don't know how he does it, but kudos to him for doing it, and I can only hope he keeps making awesome, entertaining content for the years to come. So, 2014 is now over. I mean, this video must have been so long that the year passed even if you started watching it early on New Year's Eve, right? More than likely you're watching this now on New Year's Day, or even later on in the year. So hello from the past, how's 2015 looking? Better than 2014? Because there was some serious shit this year, and as we as a gaming community, no, as an online community, really need to get it straight. Sexism should no longer be a thing, neither should racism or any other kind of prejudice, and the fact that it still is baffles me to no end. So get your shit together, people. Let's make 2015 a year to remember, but for good reasons. Let's hope we can grow as a community here on my channel too. I'd love that. Thanks again for watching and actually sticking out through this entire video, even if you did skip some parts. You're all awesome, and here's to an awesome 2015.